Hello, everybody. Welcome into the cycle, part 3 for the week. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined as always by Mike Maher. Maher, we are talking some pitching streamers. We're doing our 2-star pitcher competition. We'll hit on some stuff we're excited for the weekend as well. If everybody hasn't seen it yet, please be sure to check out Rounding the Bases, which was part 1 of the cycle this week. And, of course, our buys and sells and Waiver Central was part 2 as always. Maher, start us off here with some of your favorite pitching streamers.
All right, so pitching streamers, like always, we're going to go through every day of the week, which I've seen in the YouTube comments. People really like that format. They like having a pitcher for every day of the week, or sometimes we say, hey, this is a stay-away day. But a lot of people stream daily or almost daily, so they like that, so the format stays. The pitcher I went with for Monday is the same pitcher if you watched our previous video about trades and waivers. I went with Colin Rea for Monday for a very clear reason. He's pitching against the Marlins at home, so a great matchup. And also, if you're in a weekly league where you have to pick up a pitcher, and if you're starting him for one of the starts, you have to start him for 2. Could not be more ideal because his second start is on Sunday against the White Sox. So Colin Rea Monday against the Marlins, and Sunday against the White Sox. And do you want to keep going?
Yeah, we usually run through them all.
All right.
Well, we've done this episode enough. You know how the format goes.
That's true. But last week I was the host and Kelly did the streamers, so it was backwards last week.
Well, I will say, strong endorse. I totally agree on Rea. I think it's also funny that you have there's a real pattern in your picks this week. I was going to mention that. What is it? 6 of the 7 days are against one of 2 opponents. So you're really taking advantage of the matchups here this week.
I am really taking advantage of the matchups, and that's in part because of the matchups and also in part because there wasn't a lot of other great options those days. And so for a bunch of them, I looked around and I was like, oh, whoever's pitching against the Marlins. But I also I looked at every day pretty closely, and that's kind of where I landed with the best options. So Monday was Colin Rea versus the Marlins. Tuesday, Ben Brown versus the Marlins as well. And Wednesday, Jameson, Taillon also against the Marlins. So first 3 pitchers, just whoever's pitching against the Marlins, grabbing every pitcher for that series. I actually would prefer that it was in Miami instead of Chicago, but I'll always take the Marlins. But there just weren't some great options for those days. Just looking around, even on Tuesday, Ben Brown was definitely the highest one on my list. You could also potentially do Brian Bayo against the Tigers, but I didn't love that one. Jose Siriano against the Padres, I don't want to stay away from that. Jeffrey Springs at the Dodgers, no thank you. Casey Mize is probably rostered too many places, but after those names, the pitchers available is Quinn Priester against the Guardians, Michael Soroka against the Braves. I'd rather just stream against the Marlins and be happy with it. Thursday, we're getting away from the Marlins, but we're going against the White Sox. Nick Martinez against the White Sox. That's another day. That's a small slate day, so that was kind of a, not a ton of great options, either for matchups or for, players are probably going to be already rostered at other places. One of the other names I looked at who had a favorable matchup was Zack Littell. He's only 5% consensus rostered. He's at the Blue Jays, but he's only got 25 strikeouts in 41 innings, 4.61 ERA. I feel like there's too much downside there for the upside you're getting into. So I was more interested in Nick Martinez against the White Sox. Friday, I posted, this has been our trickiest day each week, or most weeks. I wrote it up as Dustin May or stay away. I imagine Dustin May is rostered in your league, but when I was looking up, I was pretty shocked to see that his roster percentage was pretty low. If you're in CBS, he's likely rostered because he was rostered 68% there or something like that. But wildly available on Yahoo and ESPN, way more than I expected. So
Yahoo 46% rostered, ESPN 26% rostered.
Yeah, so way lower than he should be. I feel like he should be rostered everywhere. And so if you can stream, he's at home against the Angels. So if you can stream him, he's also the kind of pitcher you can potentially pick up and keep for a little while. But maybe I'm overvaluing Dustin May, but I like him a lot.
He's been on Fantrax, by the way, he's 83%, so he's really high there. I mean, it's been a struggle, truthfully. He has one good start in the last month, so I get why people might have dropped him, even if the talent is still pretty high.
Yeah, but for that was for Friday, so Dustin May or stay away. If you're not going with that one, I didn't like much else that was out there. Saturday, I went with Matthew Boyd versus the White Sox. Matthew Boyd off to a really good start, still widely available. And again, you're targeting the White Sox. And then Sunday, I already mentioned it's Colin Rea again against the White Sox. So 3 starts against the Marlins, 3 against the White Sox, and 1 against the Angels. Also a bottom offense without Mike Trout.
If you're in a league where you don't have to lock guys into the full week and you pick up Rea for Monday, would you drop him for one of these others? Let's say you only have one real streaming spot. Would you drop him for one of these other guys around the week, or would you just hold on to him for at least that Sunday against the White Sox?
I think I'd rather maybe Matthew Boyd, but you wouldn't be able to pick up Matthew Boyd. I guess you would be able to technically pick up Matthew Boyd, drop him Saturday night, and pick up Rea for Sunday, as long as you drop Rea immediately on Monday and your waivers aren't more than like 2 or 3 days. Yeah, that would be the other one I would talk about, just because Boyd is off to a really good start.
All right. Do you want to run
some honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Sorry. Some honorable mentions, names I considered for some of those weeks. Wednesday, I also liked Jose Quintana at Cleveland. We've talked about Jose Quintana before. At some point, he's going to turn back into Jose Quintana, but for now, he hasn't. So maybe try one more time. Hopefully, you're not left holding the bag when he turns back into Jose Quintana. Thursday, AJ Smith-Shawver against the Washington Nationals. Again, the pitcher we talked about on all 3 videos this week, I think. Saturday, Andrew Abbott against the Guardians. Also a player, he might be rostered in your league, but his roster numbers are pretty low. And then Saturday, also Ben Casparius against the Angels. He's an interesting one because they're stretching him out as a starter, but last week he did come out of the bullpen. He got the win, or his last start he came out of the bullpen. He went 4 1/3. He still got the win, but he came after an opener. So if you're the kind of league that needs a quality start, he's probably not going to be the name you're going to target, because he might come out of the bullpen, and he also, if he does start, he might not go more than 5 innings.
If you're struggling with lineup decisions, our lineup assistant recommends optimal lineup suggestions to maximize your team's performance each day or week. Just sync your league for tailored guidance based on your roster and league settings. Download the Fantasy Baseball My Playbook app or visit fantasypros.com/MLB My Playbook to set your winning lineup today. Maher, it's time for the 2-star pitcher competition. I noticed last week you did not assign a winner for that previous week whose turn it was. I believe it would have been week 3, Hunter Brown versus Max Meyer. I was confused why you didn't assign a winner, because it seemed pretty clear cut to me.
I didn't tally up the numbers. I mentioned on the show that with Kelly, I just said we'll save that for next week.
Okay. Because Meyer had a great first start and then a poor second start, and Hunter Brown had 2 very good starts. So it was a very easy call looking at the points. A wide gap there. So Hunter Brown, the winner for week 3. So I am up 2-1. Now we have to pick the winner of week 4. This one I thought was a lot closer, and I'm curious if you want to make a case one way or the other. I had Freddie Peralta. You had Jacob deGrom. Peralta, by the scoring, if we're strictly going on points from this league that we have as kind of like a baseline to keep track, Peralta got 37.7 points, deGrom 32.4. That would be a win for me. The stat lines are really close, so the main difference in the points is that Peralta got quality starts both of those games, whereas deGrom didn't. But for Peralta, 12 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts, 2-0 record. deGrom, 11 innings, 7 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts, 2-0 record. So deGrom had 1 fewer innings pitched, 2 fewer walks, 1 fewer run, 2 fewer strikeouts. Peralta, you could argue, more consistent, getting quality starts both those weeks. He had 2 more walks, 1 more run, 1 more inning pitched, and 2 more strikeouts. So really close. I would lean like a very slight lean towards Peralta, but I'm curious if you want to make the case for deGrom.
I want to put this to a vote. I want the public to vote on this. I want like YouTube and social media to vote on this. I want a graphic, and I want to say which pitcher had the better week. I was actually curious why Peralta had more points. But it makes sense that if you're counting points for quality starts, that would be the
way our league is set up, you get points for a win and you get a smaller number of points. I want to say it's like 3, it might be 4, but you get a smaller number of points for quality starts. So the fact that Peralta went deeper into his games, played into that. I mean, he also got an extra inning pitched, which helps in a points league. He had 2 more strikeouts. Somewhat offset, 2 more walks and 2 more strikeouts, right? 1 more run, but 1 more inning pitch. They're very similar overall stat lines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable putting it.
Can we ask YouTube? See what they say.
Yeah, I'll read the stat lines one last time for people who are voting in the YouTube comments. Again, Jacob deGrom, 11 innings pitched, 7 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. Freddie Peralta, 12 innings pitched, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts. Both of them went 2-0. Maybe you, Maher, can pin a comment on the YouTube channel with those stat lines and see.
Or maybe our video producer can put up a graphic on the on YouTube, and you can actually look at it.
I don't like asking them to do extra work. I don't mind asking you to do extra work though.
I'm not asking them. I'm just saying, hey, maybe they do it.
We're still waiting
maybe
to see
they
what
listen to
happens.
us talking about it right now, and they do it.
We're still waiting to see what happens with last week's Zack Wheeler versus Shane Smith. Wheeler obviously off to a stronger start there. I appreciate Kelly filling in. I did listen to this section, so I heard her change this at the last second. So hopefully it works out well for me. She tried to leave me some better names. For this week, there were really 2 main names that I thought were intriguing. There was a third name, which was Paul Skeens, but he had really tough matchups. So I think you and I maybe had the same line of thinking of let's not. Yeah, I don't think you've used Skeens yet, all right? And I know I haven't, so let's save him for maybe a better matchup week. And I've already used Michael King, so that's where you're going, and I'll let you speak to that in a second. But I couldn't use King. The only other name that was really appealing was Hunter Green, but obviously there's this huge asterisk here of the injury, which we are not yet sure. We're waiting this MRI. So if you'll allow it, I'm going to pick Hunter Green and say, regardless of how he does, he is my locked-in guy if he is healthy enough to make these starts. If the injury changes his status and he's no longer a 2-start pitcher, I have a backup here, and I think you will allow me to pick this backup because he's been absolutely
bad.
horrific lately. Like I said, there weren't a ton of options I really liked. I did consider Rea, actually, given his matchups. I went with Shane Baz because of the matchups he gets a game at Miami, which, as you highlighted when talking about the streamers, is extremely appealing. He also gets at Toronto, who have been really, really bad against right-handed pitchers this year. Baz obviously has high upside when he's been on. As of late, that has not been the case. So I'm really hoping I don't have to use him and that Hunter Green is healthy and I can take advantage of him getting the White Sox and the Guardians. But if the health does not pan out, I will accept this struggling backup option here, Shane Baz, if that works for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say Shane Baz has been bad lately, so that's a bold choice, but not as bold as the guy who just left with an injury. So 2 bold choices. We'll see.
I don't think Green's not bold if he plays. And again, we just saw Reagan's actually come back from a groin injury against the White Sox and do quite well. So maybe we get the same from Green.
I'll even be even more generous to you for your backup. In the event that Hunter Green misses his first start and makes his second, and in the event that Shane Baz makes his first start and then gets sent down, you can have Baz's first start and Green's second start as your 2 week.
Will I be allowed to use half of a Green week again in the future? Or is he off the board in that scenario?
That's a good question. I don't know.
We'll play this by ear how it goes. I mean, yeah, like I said, I would have picked King, obviously, but I have already used him. And then I just didn't want to use Skeens this week. I think it's the Mets and the Phillies he's facing. And everybody else I thought was halfway decent. I was really worried about the I either didn't like the matchups or didn't like the pitcher. Like I said, Rea was a guy I considered, but I couldn't have my official picks be Shane Smith and Colin Rea back-to-back weeks. That just felt icky. So not that Baz isn't icky.
I'm going to be really furious with myself if the scenario I just presented to you happens and I lose the week.
And you lose because of it. Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. Any quick thoughts on King?
Just 2 good matchups and a good pitcher, like you said. There weren't a lot of other great names to target. I didn't really want to put my faith in Colin Rea, especially if someone is already losing the contest. So yeah, Michael King, just good matchups, good pitcher. Also in our points league that we're in together, I actually benched him last week because he only had 1 start and he was against the Yankees, and I had other pitchers who were like going 2 starts, and it worked out for me. But it's not often you bench Michael King. I don't advocate for it, but this week definitely start him.
All right, let's get to our weekend excitement here. Not a ton, stuff going on. I do want to highlight just Cubs, Mets in general. Going to be a really fun series. 2 first-place teams. Phillies, Guardians, a fun series as well. And then the one real pitching matchup I wanted to highlight was just Garrett Crochet versus Cole Reagans. Like, that's obviously really fun. Just in terms of those 2 guys going against each other, will be a lot of strikeouts in that one.
I went with my wife being back to help me watch my kids because she's been gone all week, and it's been a struggle. And I've been counting it down. Like, how sometimes it's like, 3 more sleeps till Christmas. I've been counting it down of like 2 more bedtimes and 2 more daycare drop-offs until my wife is back. So she's back tonight, and really looking forward to that.
Have you been busy? You've never mentioned it.
I've been pretty busy.
All right, we'll get out of here on that one so you can get back to watching your kids prior to your wife getting back. We will put up a poll on YouTube. Maher will put up a poll. Hopefully, we'll get a graphic too. When you put this out to the people in the comments, I mean, if they listened, they'll know who was who. But just for anybody reading the comments, just put the stat lines. Don't put like deGrom did this and this was Maher's pick, Worm's pick, Peralta did this. Just say which was the better stat line for fantasy this week. I have a feeling they might lean towards your pick in that regard. But we'll see. If you can add to the stat line. One of these guys got 2 quality starts, and the other did not. In fact, I'm going to put that in the outline right here. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hopefully, if you didn't catch it, go check out Rounding the Bases and also our buys and sells and waivers segment as well. So we've got 3 shows out this week, as always, both on YouTube and on audio platforms. For Maher, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you again next week.